happens that I'm of such an age that I was able to see it beginning. And so it isn't that I enjoy saying doom, doom, doom.
David Attenborough is a famous English broadcaster, natural historian, actor, TV producer, presenter, environmentalist, screenwriter, and writer. For over 60 years now, this man has been the voice of natural history programs across the globe. The contributions of Sir David toward wildlife filmmaking and broadcasting are unparalleled. This man narrated each episode of Wildlife on One, a BBC One wildlife series that aired between 1977 and 2005. At its peak, this series drew a weekly audience of more than 8 million. David's autobiography, titled Life on Air, was published in 2002. Attenborough is the recipient of more than 32 honorary degrees from various British universities. In 2002, a BBC poll ranked this man among the 100 greatest Britons.
On the contrary, I'd much rather enjoy it. I'd say thrill, excitement, pleasure, joy. But if you've got any sense of responsibility, you can't do that.
If you enjoy these videos, please remember to hit the like button, as it does help us out a lot. And comment below who your favorite celebrity is that you'd love to see in an upcoming video. His full name is David Frederick Attenborough, but he's also known as Sir David. He was born May 8, 1926 in Isleworth, Middlesex, England, making him 94 years old at the time of this production. He stands 5 feet 10 inches tall, or 1.78 meters. He always packs with him the same clothes, chinos and a blue shirt. And when David got his first job in TV, he didn't even own a television. New Statesman magazine ranked David among the top 10 heroes of our time. And in 2006, a Reader's Digest poll named him the most trusted celebrity in Britain. David has won the Culture Show's Living Icon Award, and he won the BAFTA Desmond David Award in the 1970s. He's also been awarded the Commander of the Order of the British Empire. Some of the distinguished awards that this naturalist won during the 2000s include Order of Merit, Descartes Prize, and Michael Faraday Prize. The star sign of David is Taurus, and he weighs approximately 70 kilograms. The color of his eyes is dark brown, and David's hair is gray. Discussing the religious beliefs of David, he's an atheist. Last year, Queen Elizabeth presented him with the Chatham House Prize. In 1966, David was the controller of BBC Two, and he oversaw the introduction of color television before anywhere else in Europe. David introduced televised snooker in 1969, and the sport has remained a mainstay on the channel ever since. Let me also tell you that David is the only individual in history to ever win BAFTA awards in black and white, color, and 3D TV. Moreover, he's considered one of the most traveled humans in history besides astronauts. David traveled 256,000 miles by air when he was working on the 1998 series Life of Birds. Attenborough reached the North Pole at the age of 83. Let me also tell you that there are at least 11 plants and animals named after him. Back in 2005, David called former President George W. Bush as the top environmental villain of the era during an interview with BBC Wildlife magazine. In 2004, David lost his niece and grandniece to the Thailand tsunami.
I remember it very vividly. They ended up, two of them, sitting on me, two of the babies sitting on me. Was I alarmed? Was I frightened? Was I concerned that the mother of those two baby shrimps was going to turn on me? Not at all. Not for a microsecond. It was the biggest compliment I can remember receiving.
Back in 1950, David married Jane Elizabeth Ebsworth Oriel. The couple has 2 children together, including Robert and Susan. Their son Robert is a senior lecturer in bioanthropology for the School of Archaeology and Anthropology at the Australian National University, and Susan is a retired primary school headmistress. Unfortunately, Jane Elizabeth died in 1997. Currently, David is possibly single. Jane collapsed with a brain hemorrhage. Although she was alive, Jane was in a coma. David spoke to her and held her hand at the hospital. Attenborough spent that evening with his wife, but unfortunately, Jane passed away the next day. Then David wrote, "The focus of my life. The anchor had gone. Now I was lost."
Certainly I've got a cellar full of rock, lots of rocks, and sometimes you pick it up and you say, good Lord, what on earth is this? Or indeed, why on earth would I bother to pick this up?
Born in Isleworth, David grew up in College House on the University College campus in Leicester. David was the middle of 3 sons of Frederick and Mary. David's elder brother, Richard, was an actor and director who died in 2014. His younger brother, John, was an executive at Alfa Romeo. John died in 2012. During World War II, David's parents adopted 2 Jewish refugee girls from Germany. David spent his childhood collecting natural specimens, stones, and fossils. When he was 11 years old, David heard that the zoology department needed newts, which he offered to supply for 3D each. Then in 1963, David and Richard attended a lecture by Gray Owl. Gray's advocacy of conservation influenced David, and in 1999, David directed a biopic of Bellany, which was titled Gray Owl. In Leicester, David attended Wigeston Grammar School for Boys and later won a scholarship to Clare College in Cambridge. He studied zoology and geology at Clare College and earned a degree in natural sciences. Then in 1974, David joined the Royal Navy and spent 2 years stationed in the Firth of Forth and North Wales. After David left the Navy, he worked for a publishing company and used to edit children's science textbooks. Soon, David became disillusioned with this work and eventually applied to become a radio talk producer at the BBC. In 1950, he applied for this job and was rejected. However, Mary Adams, head of the talks department at the BBC's fledgling TV service, offered him a 3-month course. Eventually, David joined the BBC in 1952. Adams thought that David's teeth were too big and discouraged him from appearing on camera. David became a producer for the talks department, and his early projects included the quiz show Animal, Vegetable, Mineral, and a series about folk music, Song Hunter. His association with natural history programs started when David produced the 3-part series called Animal Patterns. Then David met Jack Lester, and they decided to create a series about an animal collecting expedition. In 1954, Zoo Quest first aired, and David had to become the presenter at short notice since Lester was ill. Then in 1957, the BBC Natural History Unit was established in Bristol, and David was requested to join it. However, he declined since David did not want to move from London. So David formed his own department called the Travel and Exploration Unit. During the early 1960s, David resigned from the permanent staff of the BBC. Then he attended the London School of Economics, where he studied for a postgraduate degree in social anthropology. David eventually accepted an invitation to return to the BBC as controller of BBC Two. David included arts, music, entertainment, experimental comedy, drama, sport, business, natural history, science, and travel in the channel. In 1969, David was promoted to become the director of programs responsible for the output of both BBC channels. But he refused and returned to broadcasting. During the early 1990s, David presented Life in the Freezer and The Private Life of Plants. He's also worked on 3D documentaries for Sky 3D. David has narrated the 5-part series Dynasties, Netflix's 8-part documentary series titled Our Planet, and the natural history documentary titled Wild Karnataka.
And start traveling the world. He was just 28 years old.
Wherever I went, there was wilderness.
David's bank account started building up when the man worked in the Royal Navy, and his services as director, producer, presenter, and publisher have helped him earn millions of dollars. The total net worth of David Attenborough is $35 million. Sir David owns a house in Richmond, London, where he currently lives. During an interview with The Telegraph, David called this home his favorite place on the planet. Sir David does not own a car since he never passed his driving test.
But it is the greatest story ever told. I mean, the story of how life developed on this planet and led to you and me sitting here talking across an ocean.